Hi there. I'm Scott Jorgens from Endeavor Solutions, and we have a variety of brands that we're working with: GP Support North, Express Info, Get Sage Intacct, GP Support North, and Cortera. Thank you once again for joining us today. Our webinar is on ADP, an introduction for some, a reintroduction for others. I know we have some clients that are actively using ADP now and are also joining today. We're going to be covering off a number of great items, looking at the full stack for the SMB mid-market, as well as even stretching into enterprise. Agenda for today is our introductions, why ADP, have some introductions for for the team, a little bit of background on ADP and how they've progressed and evolved over the last number of years. We'll go into some live demos and obviously talk about integrations to your ERP. So I get one more slide and then I'll be transferring it over to Rudy and Dom. So why do we like ADP? Integrates to your system. So if you're on-premise or in the cloud, integrates to your ERP system, and it's a nice, easy way to have all of your payroll in an automated fashion, really aligning to the digital transformation. I assume many of those on the line have seen our 6 tips to digital transformation or the 7 tips for digital transformation with the cloud. Aligning your workflows, improving your processes, extending your systems to allow for greater employee self-service and access, all come together with ADP. Plus, we have many of the additional benefits beyond just payroll. We're getting into the talent management, performance management, benefits management. And the team will talk about that and touch upon those points as we progress through our webinar today. At the end of the day, all of our brands, we are here to support you, help you get the most out of your ERP system. And ADP is one of the ways that Endeavor, GP Support North, our purely CRM team, Express Info, Cortera, we're all here to help you really make the products sing and leverage and bring in the best talent that we have. Rudy, Dominic, Dom, why don't you start off with the introductions and let you take it from here.
Sure. So I'll have Rudy kick it off with doing a quick introduction, then I'll introduce myself, and then we'll go from there. Rudy, if you want to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dom. I just wanted to say for everyone here, my name is Rudy Smith, as previously mentioned. I'm a principal solutions consultant with ADP, so essentially my role is to showcase the technology and speak a little bit more to its capabilities. I do that with about 16, 17 plus years within the HR management and general management space, and I'm on with ADP about 4 years myself. So very happy to be here this morning.
Awesome. Thank you, Rudy. And I'm Dominic Belfield. I'm the value-added reseller district manager at ADP. As you can see, I've been with ADP 19 years. I always tell people I started when I was 10, not to age myself, but basically work with groups, right, mainly in the 50-plus market to help with their human capital management, right? And now, the ERP world is becoming more prevalent, and obviously with AI and technology, if you're not evolving or adapting, you're kind of falling behind faster, right? And we'll kind of go through some of the details. Kind of ADP at a glance, right? We are, the big player in the room. We pay 1 in 6 U.S. workers. We have over 1 million clients, right? But 90,000 on our Workforce Now platform, right? Tons of awards. And as you can see, too, the average tenure of our clients, 11 plus years, and the retention of about 95%.
Those are amazing numbers, Dom.
Thank you. The cool part, right, is that we have a ton of options, and all the options do have integrations into the ERP technology. But what's cool is that we get to kind of be a true consultant with you to kind of find out what makes sense for you, whether it's today, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, and beyond. And then it's something that we can also do in phases as well. But this is what's nice, is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And then as you can see, we basically can handle everything from recruitment to retirement and everything in between. So for a lot of companies that are doing payroll in-house and the idea of quote unquote outsourcing, right? We can do things in phases and steps. And what we can do is, we give you different levels of technology based off of what your needs are. And obviously, as you can see too, right, from, the mobile app, right? And you can, whether it's a smartwatch, a tablet, we have those. And I can tell you from being here at ADP so long is that we didn't always play nice in the sandbox. And now we do have a lot of options, right? The API integrations, and then just to look at different areas where we can help businesses specific to their industry and their location.
Thanks, Tom. And just have been a fan for a number of years. The Workforce Now platform has really evolved and targeted towards the SMB and mid-market, taking many of those large enterprise clients that have been working with you guys for X number of years and bringing a bunch of that knowledge into these more smaller, modern cloud platforms that obviously expand from 50 employees to 500 employees to 1,000 employees to 10,000 employees. And then I guess why don't we pull forward integrating to all the Microsoft systems, all the Sage systems, all the cloud systems, on-premise and cloud, all those pieces come together. I know we do have some clients where they're on an on-premise ERP that's coming up to end of life. They can move to an ADP now, connect to the on-premise ERP, buy themselves some time, go through a process of optimizing many of their tasks, and then bring ADP with them if they move to a new cloud-based ERP. So that's obviously something that's near and dear to many of our clients. Back to you, Dom.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. So as you can see too, right, we have over 42 million employee records. And what that means is the data that we have that we can actually give back to our clients to make educated decisions. And it's more of in-your-face data. So it's not stuff that you're deciding after 3 or 6 months and pulling reports. So as you can kind of see, like reducing the amount of time, right, to hire. We're seeing people using, recruitment platforms, but they're not having the right data or they don't have enough people applying. But then from kind of optimizing the information and benchmarking that data, right, which we'll see a little bit in the demo from Rudy, is, hey, if you're under, basically offering by 20, 30%, then that could change how many people that you're getting to apply for jobs. And even from a turnover cost perspective of what is this turnover costing you? So it's less of payroll, more of how do we help your business streamline their processes and optimize how they're running in the efficiencies.
Cool. And so who would be the main consumers of that analytics? HR, finance, everyone?
You'll see it a lot more on the HR side, but honestly, like this can go up to the C-level because people want to know what other companies are doing, right? You want to kind of benchmark of where are you at? And obviously, because now most companies are not just in one office or even in one state, and they're constantly expanding to different states and different markets, they're not always paying the same amount, but you want to make sure that you're not overpaying or underpaying. And that goes all the way up to the C-level of making decisions of where does it make sense for us to expand our business or our markets.
Great. Thanks.
And then just from a strategic partnership, right? So it's bringing everything together, right? So this is a true where we talk about it's not just a vendor relationship, it's actually a partnership. So not only through like the Endeavor, ADP, and you, and we're bringing everything together from not only just the technology we're providing, we're giving you the white glove implementation, right? Because garbage in, garbage out. So this is where we want to kind of streamline and put in the right data, and then making sure that we're bringing over historical data right, which is very prevalent. And then going forward of having the account manager and people servicing your account, because it's not just the sales process, the implementation, but it's truly the service ongoing.
Thanks, Tom. And just one of your last comments about employees across each of the states. We also have a number of clients in Canada, so across each of the provinces, there's ADP Canada and ADP Global. There's all of the tools working across border, both Workforce Now in Canada as well as Workforce Now in the U.S. And depending on where you are, and especially the clients across borders, managing it. Endeavor's actually using it internally as well, and we're managing both our U.S. operations and our Canadian operations with ADP, and are loving it. Can you talk briefly about security, and then we'll go right into the demo?
Yeah, so
what hoops do you guys jump through? I assume it's massively important.
The hoops is sometimes I almost kind of say obscene, but with technology now, we are SOC 1 and 2 compliant. We've seen companies that have gotten hacked in the past have tried to do the same thing on the ADP side and have not. We have a tier 4 data center. Everything is hosted and managed specifically by ADP. And we have 3 data centers throughout the world, right, as redundant systems as well, just in case of anything that happens. But the level of security, I can tell you even on our side as employees of what we can even send out via email and screenshots, a lot of that stuff has gone away. But what it's doing is it's protecting our clients' data. We do payroll for a lot of the government as well, so you can see and understand the level of data and security that we have in place.
Thanks for that. That hit everything I was hoping to hear.
Perfect. And now hand it over to Rudy. He's the star of the show.
So just share your screen, Rudy, and it'll take right over.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott. Let me go ahead and get that up for everybody here.
We can hear you. Can't see you yet. Or I can't see your screen yet.
Yeah, give me one moment here. It's going just a little bit slow. Is everyone able to see it now?
Looks beautiful. Good morning, John.
Yes.
Right, perfect. Yep, we are working with Mr. John Anderson here. So the purpose of this demonstration is to provide a high-level overview of what the technology looks like and essentially how it's able to transition from one module to the next all the way through payroll processing. The idea being that ADP provides that unified source where you're able to access all necessary technology and every component within an HR process if you're dealing with it day-to-day life. When we look at top of the pile, right, we start thinking about recruitment in and of itself. Recruitment's going to help you to be able to bring candidate data in from multiple locations. We have direct integrations with sites like Indeed, LinkedIn, Career Builder, Monster, but we're also going to help you facilitate candidate information as well as completely build out the requisitions themselves. What's nice about this aspect is that we're going to walk through every component within requisition building. And with the addition of our data cloud analytics that Dom mentioned previously, you'll also receive helpful insights like information regarding time to fill, as well as salary benchmark data that'll give you up to the minute live compensation data based on information that you're plugging into the system. And the idea being that you're able to fully compare your organization with those out there in a similar demographic or market space scenario. With the requisitions themselves, the big component is that you will be able to post these out to a variety of other job boards as mentioned. You'll also have the ability to build out a career center. So this is something that clients will be able to customize with their own logo, branding imagery, but essentially adds another flexible option for candidates to be able to apply to positions and also learn a little bit more about their organization as well. Now, all of that data is going to flow directly back into the ADP platform. That's where we give you the ability to measure and facilitate candidate information. We'll also utilize different algorithm calculations in what we call our profile relevance. This essentially provides a number that compares the profile of the candidate to the job they're applying for, and then says this is how well we believe they fit that position. So just another way they were able to add a little bit of the AI information and technology into the overall process. Now, we extend that all the way through in the conversation around candidate facilitation from beginning to end. This is also going to include the ability to link communication and correspondence with two-way texting, email templates. We can connect with Google G Suite, Microsoft 365 calendars to facilitate candidating and enable self-scheduling for candidates. And then we also have the ability to manage and facilitate offer letters. Utilizing Adobe Sign, which is natively built into the technology, you can capture electronic signatures and utilize fillable forms as well, essentially eliminating the need to have to venture out to any third-party platform such as DocuSign to be able to accomplish that. More so, we even have an integrated background check and reference check system in what we call our screening and selection services. So any sort of background check, reference, drug screening, we can do DMV record checks. That is all internalized, and you can navigate that and receive the information directly from the candidate profile. But the best component is as you're going through all of these steps, the system will move you directly through into hiring, where you're able to then select whatever new hire template you can create. And from here, go from recruitment to hiring, even into onboarding, all in one fell swoop. Did not have to log out, go up another window. It's all within one of the same process. You'll even notice that candidate information automatically populates these fields, and that highlights, again, the connectivity between all of the individual modules within the ADP platform. Now, once the candidate is brought into the system itself, you'll have a full system of record. ADP will operate as the personnel profiles for all of the employees connected. That includes individualized profiles for personal demographic data, employment information. We can house benefit information like enrollments and deduction data, retirement, talent information related to like skills, licensing, anything that might require some sort of renewal. We can even track and automatic reminders on that too. And then, of course, easy method for handling statutory compliance, I-9, EEO-1 reports. We keep all of that very easy for you to manage. Now, you might be looking at this information too and thinking, hey, you know, this is a lot of data that we can build reports off of. And while our system does incorporate a very large standard report sample, and you can see here it incorporates everything from the different categories, tax end, quarter end, all of that information, you'll also have a very robust custom reporting capability as well. You'll see that as you're going through the platform in what we call our field grabber. And this essentially just creates an overlay on the screen that allows for clients to easily build a report simply by selecting the fields they wish to include. This is another one of the big differentiators between a lot of the other competition out there. You can build a report simply by just selecting as you're going through. And what's nice about it too is that the system does keep that overlay up as you navigate different screens. So you don't have to worry about just being in one section, but it'll give you recommendations. And any of these reports, you have the ability to customize. You can apply different filter options. You can even run them with whatever cadence you need. So you can get automatic report scheduling as well. Now, with the employee information in the system, you also have the capacity to build out a number of different policies and automatic assignments, right? One of the big components, of course, is going to be the capability of assigning a benefit information, PTO policies. Just know that on our system, we do have the ability to build those guardrails and those guidelines to automatically assign policies when an employee is brought into the system. Not only do we have a very strong organizational architecture, but we give you the tools to be able to further define what that looks like on a per employee basis. Access permissions can be set up on the individual as well as the profile, essentially stating that, hey, within your role, This is what I can give you access to within the system. And it's a very easy and intuitive click on, click off process. Does not require me to have to go into a menu system of coding. I don't have to toggle a bunch of weird options. I can just see, hey, I want you to work with ACA. I can turn that on. FI, you're in HR. I can turn off certain components that I don't want you to have access to. Pretty much just gives you the ability to ensure you have full control over the technology, but also ensuring the right people have access to the right information. Now we double that with a very strong backbone in our approvals and workflows. Same sort of idea in the sense that you're able to get the right information to the right folks. But here, we have all of the different events and actions that can occur within a normal HR cycle: benefit enrollment, human resources, payroll data. This essentially means I can come in and say, hey, whenever an employee wants to update their W-4, what does that approval path look like? Who has to be notified? Who has to be giving approval? And you can specify this a number of steps. You can have different levels of approval put in as well. But again, this just helps to make sure that clientele have all the processes properly vetted out. Nobody is left out in the process. Now, some of the policies that I mentioned also related to, benefits, PTO, a lot of that you'll be able to find under a dedicated setup menu. You'll notice that all of the field headers are pretty easily identified. We want to make sure that as navigation through our system occurs, it's as simplistic and user-friendly as possible. Practitioners or those with administrative access will have access to the setup options here, allowing them to be able to come in and put in specific profiles and guidelines around things like benefit enrollment, open enrollment schedule. We can do PTO and time off policies as well as any of the back-end information related to time and attendance. Specifically within this organization, if you wanted to automatically assign benefit administration, we have the capacity to enable for that. Not only do we have plan information built in, we'll also be able to connect your carriers with the database to allow for demographic updates to occur automatically. We're also going to be able to put in your rate structure, waiver options, align your open enrollment schedule, and best part, even the ability to calculate and monitor ACA on behalf of the client as well. So when you think about benefit administration, ACA is something that's usually a choke point, something very manual for a lot of organizations out there. We're going to provide not only a dedicated ACA profile for each of the employees connected, we also give very easy to navigate dashboards that highlight particular trends, tracking issues, but also helps to ensure that you're remaining compliant even across multiple states. Now, all of this is connected to that same benefit engine, essentially giving you immediate access to invoice reports, to the dashboard that'll highlight open enrollment scheduling. And you'll also have benefit reporting and invoice reconciliation built in. Employees will also have an easy system to be able to navigate through benefit enrollment. That includes the capacity to measure and monitor dependents, beneficiaries, make additional qualifying life event changes, and walk through open enrollment in a very easy and step-by-step process. One of the methods we can even assist with that is through a tool that we call Help Me Choose. This is powered by NAYA, which is a very powerful medical technology, but it provides employees with a quick survey. It takes about 10 minutes, walks them through current coverage, underlying health conditions, financial situations, but the idea being that they're able to digest open enrollment, the difficult terminology, any questions, all fielded within this tool. Benefit is that you're able to have an employee walk through open enrollment in as little as 23 minutes with about 87% of the questions normally fielded by HR covered within the technology itself. What that equates to, employees with much more confidence as they're going through the open enrollment process and much more streamlined process from beginning to end as soon as you enact. Now, of course, just like everything else, all of that's going to feed directly into the system. That benefit dashboard that we saw previously will highlight all of that too. But the big component Deductions, enrollments, and all of that information are all going to flow directly into payroll. We monitor that with the use of a pay profile that all of your employees connected to your clientele will have within the system. Essentially highlights everything related to deductions, garnishments, taxes, the ability to see pay statements, direct deposit information. So whatever you might be housing, in a manual format, we can digitize that. And this allows for that automatic transition of a lot of these codes and categories directly into payroll without the use of any sort of manual manipulation. Now, that even extends when we talk about collecting time. Within time management, our system does enable and allow for a variety of different time collection methods. By default, we have the ability to incorporate something like web timesheets and mobile time punches, but we also have more physical options available, such as our deluxe time clock, our time kiosk app as well. So your clients will have the ability to utilize a flexible methodology in which they're able to connect and collect employee time. It does not have to be delegated to just one option, and it can be split amongst a subgroup within the population as well.
That's great. So it's all tested on the hardware, not in addition to the software.
Absolutely so. Yeah, we make sure that we have that proper connection between the hardware and software across all of the different categories. And that even extends to the mobile app use that I'll talk about here shortly.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the idea behind all of that essentially is to ensure that employees have a very easy method in which they're able to view and put in their time information. It's scalable enough as well to allow for a number of different components from a time collection perspective. That even includes what we call labor charge fields. So for clientele that need to track labor allocation and management, we'll have a validation table built out with all locations, jobs, projects, tasks, cost centers. And we even have the ability to incorporate different rates of pay associated with any of these individual codes. Now, all of that is to say, when we look on the back end here, employees and managers will have a much more simplistic view. Dedicated time guard views will be available to all employees as well. You can enable the ability to self-correct or edit. There can be approval for time cards built in, but it's a very clean view. I can see some of those labor charge fields. I have the ability to utilize a drop-down menu for any of these individual codes, and these can be customized to incorporate a lot of other views and columns based on the individual client needs. But everything here from totals, I have my schedule, supplemental pay codes can be built in, even direct access to time off balances from my time card. Leadership will also have a very easy view. They'll have a dedicated team dashboard where they can see everything related to time and attendance related to their employees, giving them full access to, who's currently working, who's scheduled to come in later, what do hours look like for the week, overtime that might be coming into the system, and then some of those additional insights related to Data Cloud that we talked about previously also, where you can sort of see, hey, here are some particular trends related to attendance. We have attendance programs built in, very robust. But I cannot stress this enough. The benefit of our platform is that it remains wholly scalable. While there are a lot of features that are enabled within the system, it has the ability to meet you in simplicity where needed and then grow in complexity as the need arises as well. So we want to make sure that as you're transitioning to a new system, we already understand there's going to be a bit of anxiety around training and new learning with different cultures. But here, we want to make sure the technology is simplistic and you'll be able to add and grow as the need arises. Now, within time and attendance as well, as mentioned, a lot of this information is going to flow directly into payroll. The benefit with scheduling already built into the platform, not only will we be able to automate the use of the different labor codes and tracking capabilities, but it provides visibility and insight to the employee on that regard as well. And then as talked about earlier, you'll have the ability to utilize the mobile app to be able to go in and see all of the same information you would on a computer, but from that free app. This is something that all employees, when hired into the system, will be encouraged to download. Again, there's no extra charge for it, but it is just one app that allows employees to punch in, check their pay stubs, look at benefit enrollment, learning management. All of the normal functions that you have from the online view, you'll be able to see here. And that even extends to managerial access as well. Now, within this same space, all roads end up leading to payroll. I think Dom kind of summed it up very nicely in the beginning. The main component of ADP, of course, is going to be how we process payroll for the individual client. Now, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You know, payroll's been the same for the last 30, 40 years. I have the hairline to really prove it. And here, the system is going to make sure that we're going to provide the necessary tools so that you're able to ensure payroll runs smoothly as it proceeds throughout the entire year. Payroll schedules will be built out. You'll have direct access to some of the tax documentations, quarter and dashboards, those pay profiles I had mentioned previously. But you can see that we're scalable enough to allow for multiple codes. So if you have different forms of payroll, you can run multiple versions of it concurrently. There can be different pay cycles, so they can all be going at the same time. But that really just states that we're able to accommodate for that added layer of complexity. The actual payroll batches will be fully formatted to match what the individual client needs. So while mine might show a more simplistic view here, just know that it can absolutely grow and showcase a lot more based on what's necessary and viable. You'll also be able to come and make any last minute changes. All of the columns are completely open. The system will even identify any potential discrepancies related to time and attendance and payroll. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have all calculations, guidelines, policies, and rules. So the system is continuously checking to make sure that payroll is not going against or contradicting any of that information. The end result, you're able to process payroll with the utmost confidence, knowing that all the information is correct. We validate that as well by being able to apply this detailed summary report. This essentially gives you a full breakdown of payroll line by line, and even giving you the ability to compare with the previous payroll period. All reports can be downloaded at once. And when you're ready to approve, after all changes have been made, time cards have been locked off, system will give you that regular summary, and we'll be able to start the process from our end as well. Now, within payroll itself, right, we of course have the ability to send out manual checks. Direct deposit is something that can be set up during the onboarding component. And we also have what we call Wisely, which is our paid card option for employees that don't have a direct deposit but don't want to get a manual check either. So a lot of flexibility in terms of how we're able to get the employee paid. All of that is available within the platform. Once payroll itself has been processed, general ledger reports will automatically be scheduled. We have automatic integration with something like QuickBooks Online, meaning that not only will we create the GL report for you automatically, but with QuickBooks Online, we can even upload it directly into the system. And then with further integrations, as highlighted previously with Sage Intacct, Acumatica, we have probably one of the most accessible payroll engines in the entire world. We play nice with a lot of people out there, and that's by design. We understand that only through success with relationships are we able to proceed viability into the future. And I think that's one of the reasons that ADP has stood the test of time for as long as it has. Now, outside of the normal employee life cycle as well, one of the big areas that I wanted to touch on was that analytic component. Now, Scott and Dom really summed it up in the beginning here and how we utilize a very large data set within the entire continental United States. That is accessible to your employees and all additional clientele through the use of what we call data cloud, which is broken up by analytics and enhanced insights. Your analytics are going to cover everything internal from the organization. So we're going to have a number of metrics that we'll monitor for you and present in a very digestible manner. You can break it down by category: overtime cost, benefit contribution, retention rate, Each individual metric allows you to drill down further to get an idea and customize exactly of the data set that you're trying to pull from, but also gives you a breakdown on where that information is, where we're pulling it from, why it's important. So you know that all the information is completely 100% viable. All of this can become ported into a dashboard where you can have very easy presentable data sets. If I need to talk about turnover and retention, hey, I have a dashboard built for that. Already has my metrics outlined. I have questions that can be composed that provide individual answers as well. So very quick and easy to take information that I would normally have to pull multiple sources from, all located within one easy to find location. We can compound that through the use of what we call storyboards. Very meticulous conversation starters that we are finding within the industry that are of top of mind. Cost of turnover, pay equity, what about an aging workforce? These are all meticulously designed with your collaboration as well to ensure that it provides accurate representation to each of your individual clientele. Here I can see that in the last 12 months, I lost about 13 employees, equated to around $171,000 in total turnover costs. I have the ability to go in and put that setup. What does turnover look like in terms of severance, in terms of training, in terms of recruitment? I can even get really granular and assign this to particular parts of the business and individual jobs within that business unit as well. And again, this is just one storyboard, covering only a handful of individual metrics. We also have that benchmark data. This is that enhanced insights that allows you to see how the organization compares against a larger populace. And we utilize what we call benchmark explorers to really hound that fact home. One of the big ones is going to be our talent market insights that gives you the ability to look at everything from compensation data, workforce and demographical information across the entire United States, either at an MSA level or a state level. And again, this can be filtered and configured to show the data that you're really looking for, but you'll notice that it breaks everything down for you. Easily digestible and does not require you to have to pull from a very cumbersome menu system. If I wanted to go in and take a look at a certain location, I can hover over this. I also have the ability to put locations directly into the system. If I wanted to get specific and look at jobs, we utilize a very complex job matching system that looks at similar terminology and descriptions to make job matching a little bit easier with automatic recommendations utilizing that same AI algorithm. But I can come in here and I can see what an HR manager makes within the Tucson area, how that compares to the national average, and I can get breakdown analysis on workforce and demographic data as well.
These are great value-added insights.
Sandboxes. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Scott. This is one thing that I always like to show, and I usually end with it because it really functions like that cherry on top. But if you are into data, if you have an analytical mindset, this is an absolute sandbox for you to get lost in. And it's all very easily unified. And the system even has what we call a readiness journey that helps walk you through setup of the data information here. So it's very easy to find. If I wanted to go in and look over something like turnover probability, it breaks down employees that have high turnover risk, managers with high turnover risk, and even jobs with the highest turnover probability. At all point, being able to see that internal comparison versus how I stack up against the competition.
It's really great to have those insights and analytics. I can really see it powering intelligent decisions, both giving a stronger voice to HR, not just based on feelings, but actually based on data and metrics. And the system allows for these metrics to pull together. One of the questions came up, similar benchmarking in Canada.
So this tool that I'm showcasing here is specifically for the United States. We do have different benchmarking capabilities for Canada. That is a different tool sort of related to the cross-border component that Scott mentioned at the start. But yes, we do have capabilities to pull Canadian data for that set.
Yeah, it's coming together into the major system. I think it's just a separate system. Now the benchmarking, is this an additional subscription on top of others, or is it bundled together with certain levels?
So yeah, it's an additional, module, right, that they can add on. And that's what's kind of cool is there are modules within the system, but it is truly one database. We're actually finding like the true cost of having some of these extra pieces is so minimal, but the value that it brings is so valuable to an organization, especially like to Rudy's point of having this information to make decisions, especially since a lot of companies are hiring across the country now.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, it is, as Ruby said, or Rudy, it's the icing on the cake. And you typically don't go to a restaurant and buy a cake without icing. Do it right, but this brings the platform and the entry into the holistic aspect of proper HRIS and talent management.
And one thing I'd like to add though
fall into
too as
maturity
well.
model.
Yeah, one thing I do want to add, Scott, is that we do have, there's other competitors that do have something similar. But if you think about it from the sheer numbers, right, is that there's over 1 million clients data worth in this system. So like that's something that no one else can say, hey, we have the same thing, or these are technically surveys. This is actually real data that's been processed through payroll that we update from the prior month. So these are job titles that are in the system. People are actually getting paid. And that's what's cool is that we're giving you real data. And we actually have, when it comes down to a minute details of having certain cities, we have to have at least 5 companies, right, to have this data. But it'll tell you how many companies we're giving you the data from, how many employees, what size, and location. So this is something that is so very different and so very valuable that now it is, to your point, right? It's not just about feeling, it's about true numbers. And this is kind of one of those of, hey, we're having heavy turnover in this, region. Is it maybe based off of pay, right? Because you're lower, so people are taking the job and then leaving.
Yeah, nailed it. And one of the biggest components and one of the things that I always highlight on these conversations, you talk to the numbers, how many employees and organizations are included. This is the same data set that is provided to the Department of Labor. So when they send out their census reports, they're using ADP data. And that really is probably one of the biggest standout features.
Yep. Many pieces coming together.
Yeah, and real quick to one of the questions too, like where we're getting, the talent cost. So a lot of that's coming, from internal though as well. So are you spending money on a, Indeed account, a Monster, a ZipRecruiter account? Are you paying a recruiter? How much are they making? What's the time to hire, certain positions? Are there overtime, right, that you're paying to other individuals? So a lot of times what's happening is, hey, based off of our cost that we've kind of put together on our side that we put in the system, it's now telling you and pulling different data points of, hey, every time you're losing somebody, that's about 14,000 or 17,000, or, from one department to another, right? So one department that may be a turnover cost of 13,000 versus maybe a sales department costing closer to 30,000. And then from the turnover probability too, so it's pulling 15 different data points based off of where people live, right? Their commute time, their job title, how much money they're making. We actually ran this in the background prior to even rolling this out for two and a half years, and it was about an 82 to 84% accuracy. So, and then this was years prior, and now it's just the more and more data that we have that we're putting in the system to give you information in your face, right? So that you can make, once again, educated decisions of who are we hiring, what direction we're going, and what makes sense.
I love it. Yeah, really an evolution into a data-centric company. and gaining access to this data as part of one of the insiders of the users of ADP, I think is going to be key for a number of our clients. Okay for me to come over to wrap up and we'll get back into some of the questions. So
Absolutely.
thanks everyone. We're into the demo. For those that are watching recording or new to Endeavor, watching us online, I've been around for 36 years now, multiple lines of business, really supporting ERP, CRM, finance, and winning awards and having locations, as we say, up in Canada as well as Chicago, San Antonio, and across the U.S. So we really are coast to coast, covering off 5 different time zones across North America. Next steps, really, I think the easiest approach is to reach out to a member of our team. I'll have contact details on the next slide. And there's a defined process where our consultants work with you and work with Dom and other people at the ADP team to discuss what your needs are. There's a simple questionnaire of just creating an efficiency around the follow-up meeting to really discuss what are we trying to accomplish, what areas of talent management, payroll, benefits, time tracking are you interested in, what do you want to see, and then ultimately we set up a little show and tell demo, refine and understand all the pieces that you're looking at, and then look at pricing and find the best fit. So far, working with Dom and others, we really found that the implementation fees have actually come down in years. ADP is investing in wanting to have you as a valued 10, 11, 15, 20-year client and the value of the data that you'll be consuming over the time. Not just, how do I throw in some software and charge a bunch on services? So we've really found the implementations to be a lot more reasonable than they have been in past years. So contact details, variety of individuals within Endeavor through our support desk, through our support teams, and then new clients to Endeavor, a variety of individuals that you can speak to. Easiest 2 points of initial contact, Steve Ewing or Trish Fortin. 2 of them will point you in the right direction and obviously reply to the webinar invite or any other means. Find us online and you'll have our contact details there. So with that, let's wrap it up. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. We do have 10 more minutes, so if there are more questions that you want to put into the chat, we can take a quick review, and if they're appropriate, we'll put Dominic on a spot.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Either me or Rudy. Yeah, we're happy to answer any specific questions that you guys may have. And to Scott's point, right, like when meeting with individual companies, it's not all or nothing, or it's everything in between, right? And that's where we kind of pride ourselves on having that consultative approach to find out what's important to you now, right? What do we need to kind of clean up, or what's the focus? And then, we can do things, as we talked about, in steps or in phases as well.
I guess another point, just so a question hasn't come in yet, handling complexity. So ADP, obviously, larger government organizations, mid-sized, small, across, I'd probably say every industry across Canada and across the U.S. How do you handle the complexity of unionized environments? Because they often have a lot of payroll unique needs in reporting.
Yeah, so I will tell you, probably 3+ years ago, it was definitely a very touchy subject and kind of iffy as well. What I will say is that we do pride ourselves on being a true human capital management, but when it comes to the unions of like construction. So we actually on this platform have a full, it's called a Workforce Now for construction. We actually bring in our specialists that are ADP employees as well, that we have these tools that are now truly embedded inside the technology. So we're taking your, CBA agreements, right, any union agreements, we're plugging all of that in. And whether you have, if I'm working on 3 or 4 different jobs in that same day, if I'm covering multiple unions, I'm covering multiple states in the same pay period, multi-jurisdictional reporting, we can do all of that, right? And what's cool is we speak your language. And that's usually not the norm, right? So I think it was an LPN tracker uploading from different states and specific unions. Like, we're very aware of that. And when it comes to prevailing wages and certified payroll, all of that can actually be handled. We used to partner with different companies, and we still do have some of those options depending on certain nuances, but that can all now be done inside the ADP technology. It's honestly pretty slick. We've come a very long way, in that industry. And even what I will say kind of to that point as well, that kind of goes with it a little different, is the nonprofit industry as well. So kind of the same thing, they're having to track different information, and that's where it comes to like grant tracking, and then the salary allocation piece, which from what we're seeing is mostly done in Excel or manually in some fashion or form. And now what we're able to do is, if Scott, yourself, you're working on 7 different projects, right, but your salary needs to be split, maybe it's 10%, 12% on different projects throughout that week, we can have that allocated. And what that does is I'm still getting paid the same salary, but on the back end reporting, the stuff that needs to go into Sage Intacct, the stuff that needs to go into your Microsoft system, we have that. And that's where it's a very different conversation than what we've done and seen in the past.
Yep. And I think that dovetails right into the past conversation. The implementations are getting that much easier because there's been just so much been there, done that. What was previously large custom implementations is now that knowledge, and the systems are adapting. It's the power of the the cloud technologies that ADP has. The systems are all adapting, maturing, and making everyone's life just that much easier. And it's interesting for unique environments where some of that nuances and knowledge now gets put into the system and its configuration, and you have that longevity. So if you do have turnover within HR or within the experts within your organization, you're able to leverage outside experts, inside experts, but get that knowledge and structure into your system. And then your system is just rinse and repeat year over year until the next negotiation, next government updates, the next major change, or depending on the maturity of your organization, how you rebalance benefits, rebalance compensation, rebalance performance goals. So having that flexible system, I think, is really key. It's a lot more than just base payroll that it used to be X number of years ago.
Correct. I would always kind of say to people, it used to be 80% payroll, 20% everything else. It is now the very opposite. It is now 20% payroll and everything, 80% of everything else, right?
And it's not that payroll is reduced. It's everything else is just that much more accessible for organizations to really, manage their teams properly. And that's where at Endeavor, we're quite excited as we're continuing with our maturity and our growth of those investments in our consultants and our internal talent, and how all these pieces fit together. And I know our HR team's expanding in size as well.
Yeah, and I think this is where we actually pull in. It's payroll. What we've seen is payroll, HR, and finance in kind of their respective corners. Everybody wants their own tools. They don't necessarily care what everybody else has, but they do have to work together. This is now where we can truly give HR their additional tools, right? A performance recruiting and HR, the HRS system. Payroll still runs very seamlessly, and they're pulling the data from HR, right, of what's the benefit information that's already flowing over so that payroll can run, but finance needs those numbers and the data, and that sync will come through with the integration, whether it's a Sage Intacct or Microsoft as well. So that's where now everybody, and it's a different conversation now where everybody has a seat at the table, everybody has a voice, but now we can also give each piece of the pie to what they need.
That's fantastic closing remarks. Thanks, Dom. Everyone, have a wonderful day. Thanks for attending, and I look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Bye for now.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Rudy. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.